Alright, so boom, today we got 4 crazy stories that prove Larry Bird is the toughest player in NBA history. And I'm not gonna lie, I've been reacting to Larry Bird lately, and he's slowly climbing up my GOAT rankings, bro. I had him like, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of had him out the top 10, bro. But now, bro, I'm gonna have him like somewhere around 7, bro. I don't know, bro, because I still think like there's a lot of players nowadays who are just better than him, bro. You feel me? But you did show he has been playing through injuries and stuff like that, as I've been seeing in some of these highlights and stories that have been being told. And you feel me, I want to get to see what those injuries were and some of those crazy stories. So that being said, let's get straight into this.
Seen with our own eyes how incredibly tough the guy was, trying to play on a freshly sprained ankle to will the Lakers to the playoffs, winning the championship with a fractured finger. He's got a great case for being able to will the Lakers. Our own eyes how incredible. We've all heard the stories about Kobe Bryant, and most of us have actually seen with our own eyes how incredibly tough the guy was, trying to play on a freshly sprained ankle to will the Lakers to the playoffs, winning the championship with a fractured finger. He's got a great case for being the toughest player in NBA history. But then
you want a chip with a fractured finger?
There's Larry Bird, and many people don't know it, but he might have been equally as tough, if not tougher, than Kobe Bryant when it came to pain tolerance. Bird was such a warrior that he often didn't even like to let the team.
Is there even a ranking for this, bro? If I'm gonna be honest, I heard about players toughing certain stuff out, like Kyrie tore his ACL and still made them free throws, bro. You feel me? You feel me? I've been seeing stuff like that, but there's an actual ranking for toughest players, like when it comes to being injured and playing through it. Nowadays, players will just sit it out if
team
they
staff
get
know he was hurt.
injured.
That is until later in his career when his back had deteriorated to an unbearable point. And because Bird was such a warrior, today I want to tell you guys 4 crazy stories about Larry Bird's insane level of toughness. What's up, NBA fans? Dom2K on the mic, and you've probably seen the shots of Larry Bird torturing himself later in his career when his back was forcing him into retirement, but you might not know what allowed him to deal with that pain in the first place. It turns out Larry was dealing with physical ailments even before he entered the league. Before he'd ever played a game with the Celtics, he actually had his knuckle shattered by a baseball that put his professional career in jeopardy. But
bro, what? Now, we seen the clip of him hitting his head on the floor in the highlights, and I kind of want to know more about that, one of the old videos we react to, but I did not see nothing about him shattering his knuckle.
Because he's Larry Bird, and Larry Bird is from a different planet, he was able to put together a top 10 NBA career despite not ever having the same shooting touch before he shattered his knuckle. Wrap your mind around that for a second. Larry Bird accomplished everything he did in his career, and he said out of his own mouth that he never had the same feel for the basketball after the knuckle injury. But as
so his like, did he never heal the same or something? Like, he just didn't. It never felt the same. Like, though he couldn't control the ball the same way. So, and he still ended up being what, one of the greatest players ever.
It turns out that's just an appetizer compared to what he'd endured throughout his career. Let's jump into it. Number 4, hole in the face. I figured we'd start off with something crazy we've seen before. Remember when Russell Westbrook fell down after his free throw and got a hole kicked in his jaw? Yeah, that left a lot of us wondering if Westbrook was actually Android a human, because he got up, moved his mouth around a little bit, and finished up what was left of the game. Luckily for him, that was
bro, I can't even see this clearly,
only
bro.
about 1 second of game time. However, it turns out that 33 years earlier, Larry Bird actually had already accomplished this superhuman feat, and surprisingly, he did Westbrook one better. I originally thought there wasn't footage of this on YouTube, but I'm so thankful there was, because you need to witness how brutal this was. In a 1982 game against the Milwaukee Bucks, Larry Bird drove left to the basket and tried to bank in a routine jump shot. It clanked off the rim, Bird went up to rebound his own miss, and was violently elbowed by power forward Harvey Catchings. Where Westbrook's inbound his own miss and was violently elbowed by
what is actually up when you went like
power forward Harvey Catchings, where West up to rebound his own miss and was violently elbowed by
this guy, he got a problem, bro.
Where Westbrook's injury was an accident by his own teammate that didn't even look too bad initially, it's a bit difficult to look at this footage and say it wasn't on purpose, and you actually cringe a bit when you see how hard the shot was. The elbow practically knocked Bird out and left him lying on the floor for several minutes as he looked seriously injured. From what I can tell in the tape, the injury appeared to happen before the end of the third quarter, because Larry Bird went back to the locker room and came back out before the period ended. In the fourth quarter, playing with what we now know was a fractured zygotic arch, Bird would score.
He played, I was about to say, it's pretty early for them to lose a star that early, bro. He kept playing when there's still over a quarter left. I was about to say they're gonna have to, it might be a tight game, they might end up losing, bro, but play with the hole in your
8
face.
more points, including a poster dunk, 2 assists, adding some defense and hustle plays, as he was even shoved out of bounds during one of the
They probably get demonetized if they did, but I wish you could see actual pictures of how brutal
possessions.
It is,
his efforts led the Celtics to a narrow win, as he finished with 16 points, meaning he scored half of them with a fractured arch in crunch time. And even though we can't see it on the graded 80s footage, Bird's jaw was depressed inward the same way Westbrook's was. After Larry left his heart on the floor for his team, he was sent to the hospital where doctors had to drill a hole into the side of his face and insert a medical tool to pop his zygotic arch back out. If social media had been around with clear footage back in these days, this performance would probably be a lot more famous. We were shocked to see Westbrook standing on his own with a hole in his face. Imagine watching Larry Bird play an entire extra quarter while leading his team to the win. Number 3.
They won. Of course they did.
Just give me a beer. It's understandable that Larry dealt with injuries like back problems and broken bones in the face. Those things just tend to happen when you're crashing into the floor and whatnot. But when Larry Bird had a toe infection, it really seemed like somebody was just testing how much he could take before he finally sat out a game. In the year 1985, Bird reportedly had
no anesthesia. He didn't take any drugs. Nothing. He literally said, "Give me a beer." Got his toe cut open 2.5 inches deep, and went back the same night to play. Like,
unfortunately, I can't find any kind of information on when this.
How is that human, bro? I'm not gonna lie, bro. And to be honest, how is that even allowed? Like, let's be honest.
Number 2.
Why? Like, I ain't gonna lie. What is causing him to do this? Like, pushing himself to this level. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Players nowadays, they get injured, they're sitting out. They're not pushing themselves, bro. Even if it's something small, they're not trying to play. There's certain players, though, like, feel me, Anthony Edwards, he'd be like, I'm trying to play every game, because there's certain fans who can only buy that one ticket. And what if the big star player doesn't show up? You feel me? But most NBA stars nowadays, they don't think like that. They just don't sit out over any little boo-boo. So why is he playing with these insane injuries? Like, bro, your toe has blood coming
double vision
everywhere.
A lot of people can't even shoot when there's just one basket sitting still. So imagine trying to play in a professional game when you fractured your eye orbiter and you're seeing 2 baskets. Now, the injury itself sounds pretty comparable to what Derrick Rose had not too long ago, the difference here being that Rose got hurt before the season and was able to get his problems to a manageable point before playing in a real game. Bird, however, would not be so lucky. In a 1988 game against the Cavaliers, Bird was on fire, having scored 13 points in the first quarter. But when he spun away from Craig Elo with a clear lane to the basket, Del Curry of all people would rotate and hit Bird with a violent
Curry's dad
elbow to the side of his face. Kind of ironic that before Dell was raising the greatest shooter of all time, he was apparently trying to take out the best one of his generation. Anyways, Bird sustained a...
So do you guys think this is a conspiracy by Del Curry, knowing that he was going to have Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time? He was like, let me take out Larry Bird, who's actually, we reacted to some footage, bro. He's a pretty good 3-point shooter. I don't know how he stacks up against modern 3-point shooters, but he was hitting them shots. He was hitting clutch shots. You feel me? He seems like a pretty good 3-point shooter. But you feel like he was trying to take out the competition back then with Doug Curry just out here hitting up all the 3-point shooters. But yeah, okay, enough joking around.
The fractured eye orbiter that again kept him on the floor for minutes. He went on to the locker room for treatment, came back out like he had done 6 years earlier, only this time he would score 18 more points to put the finishing touches on a 31-point game that included 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 steals on 11 of 20 shooting. But the stats weren't even the most impressive part. According to Larry, he played the rest of this game with double vision, and as he described it, he saw 2 baskets for the rest of the game, leaving him to guess which one he had to shoot at. But that's not the best part either. Not only did he light Cleveland up, but we know double vision doesn't go away after one game. As we've already established, if there was any other option than to sit a game out, that's what Bird was going to do. He ended up playing 4 more games with goggles that I'm not even sure anybody really knew he wore, and in those games, he scored 36, 30, 28, and 34 points. In typical Larry Bird fashion, he shot a staggering 55% from the field with that.
The goggles,
elbow,
the ING wasn't stopping him too much,
goggles,
bro.
elite scoring, hitting on over half of his field goal attempts. Again, he's Larry Bird, and Larry Bird is from another planet. Just to add some gore to the story, apparently after the Cleveland game where he initially broke the orbiter, he noticed his nose bleeding after the game. He went to blow it and his eye bulged out a bit. Just a typical day in the life of Larry Bird, I guess. Number 1, Celtic pride.
Typical day in the life of Larry Bird,
You
bro.
hear all this talk.
Why don't you just sit it out, bro? Like, Larry Bird, He's too tough. I'm not
Talk
gonna
about
lie.
self-pride
He
every
might
time we
be the
speak about
toughest
the
player in
history,
NBA
and
history, bro. I don't know if there's anybody even competing with any of these stories, let alone all of them put together. Like,
Larry Bird contributed in big part to that as his career was wrapping up. Possibly the most famous scene from the ending of his career is the one we've all seen. Larry was diving for a loose ball, goes crashing to the floor as his head bangs against it violently, and he just lays there as if his body couldn't take it anymore. Truth be told, it really couldn't. Bird was dealing with insane back issues by this point in his career, and it was through sheer determination that he was even playing by this point. However, the story behind this scene is that not only was Bird's back locking up on him, but the shot he took to the head actually knocked him unconscious for a second and left him with a concussion that threatened to keep him out of the rest of an elimination game 5 against the Pacers.
Bro.
By this point, Larry was 34 years old and had missed 22 games throughout the season, and his best days had been stripped from him by an ever-deteriorating back. He sat in the locker room debating whether to go back into the game as Boston had lost their edge without him, and most of the way through the third quarter, the advantage was with the Pacers. When Larry asked the doctor
so they was losing without Larry, bro,
for advice, he said he should be done for the day, but by this point, we all know Larry just wasn't built like that. He was still breathing, so he went back into the game with the Celtics down by 3, while they were being cracked over the head by Chuck Persons, I might add. With Bird back in the game, Boston would go on a ridiculous 33-14 run and went on to win the game by 3 points, sending the Pacers home for the playoffs. Bird finished with 32 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists while shooting 63% from the field. But again,
are we hearing these stats, bro? After being knocked unconscious on the basketball court and being told you have a concussion by the doctor and that you should not play, Larry Bird proceeded to watch his team go down, lose, and came back in the fourth quarter. Like he said, I got to suit up. Like, bro, and he won. He put up some crazy numbers, I ain't gonna lie.
And that's not the most shocking part of this story. According to teammates like Robert Parrish, when Bird hit the floor, they weren't sure he was ever going to play again. Remember that this happened at the end of Bird's career, and after back surgeries and having to lay in a fiberglass brace for hours just to be well enough to play, some thought that the fall he took meant the end of his career. And it probably would have been if Larry Bird was from Earth, but instead he went out and put up one of the most memorable playoff performances of all time, the kind of performance that really makes you sad that his career was really cut short by injury. So there you have it. These were 4 crazy stories that prove Larry Bird was likely the toughest player of all time. The crazy part about it, after reading the book he wrote with Magic Johnson and researching a little bit, I could have easily told 10 or more. The truth that people don't really talk about in terms of Larry is that despite his amazing career, it was truly only a shell of what he could have been. As early as 1985, only 6 years into Larry Bird's career, he was already experiencing back issues that resulted from him doing concrete work around his house that he could have paid someone else to do.
6 years into his career, he was already like getting messed up. Bro, do you guys think Larry Bird could have been even greater than he was? And all these injuries and stuff, because from what I'm hearing, eye messed up, shooting hand messed up, back messed up. Like, what could he, like, everything important that he would need just seems to be, like, I don't know. But at the same time, why are you doing concrete?
Back issues that resulted from him doing concrete work around his house that he could have paid someone else to do. But that's just who Larry was, an incredibly hard worker that prided himself on being the same type of soldier his father was. Larry cherishes a story about his father when he came home one day from work and had a busted ankle. The next day, the ankle was so bad that Larry had to help him put the shoe on, and his father went right back to work. It was the kind of example that led Larry to play through the ridiculous pain he began to experience really only a short way into his career. Bird played a total of 13 of the most memorable seasons any NBA player could produce, but imagine one of our modern stars only lasting 13 years. LeBron is already on his 14th campaign, Durant is already on his 10th, but what are those?
LeBron is actually going into his 24th now. It's been, I don't know when this video was posted, what, 10 years ago? Almost crazy. But imagine, I see where Larry Bird got it from, but imagine if he actually didn't do that and rested a little bit. Y'all think he could have been way greater? Or maybe if the injuries just didn't happen, like maybe some of them where he couldn't heal.
Guys only played to 13 though. That's just for perspective of what a flash Bird's career really was. And we're lucky that for that short amount of time, he had the high pain tolerance that he did. Because if he was actually human and sat out those games that anybody else would have sat out, we would have likely seen even less of him. So in conclusion, I think Bird is proof that there is life outside of Earth, and we really aren't alone. Somewhere out there is the planet Larry Bird came from, where there's extraterrestrial life that apparently doesn't feel any type of pain. Shatter their face, knock them out, just give them a few minutes and they're right back on their feet ready to play. And if they're generous enough, maybe they're going to send another one like Larry to Earth to play in the NBA in the future. But if that doesn't happen, I'm very happy that LarryBird was a part of NBA history. So I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you learned something. Leave your favorite LarryBird story in the comment section because I'm pretty sure you guys have some. If you enjoyed the video.
With that being said, y'all think like there'll be any other players like LarryBird, and also toughest wise, he might just be the toughest player. I don't know any player that has a hole in their face, they got their foot drilled in, hand broken. Like, he just seems, no matter what, a concussion literally knocks unconscious of court. No matter what happens, he's gonna keep going, bro. He's gonna keep playing. Like, I don't know, bro. I haven't seen something like this, but I feel like there's more LarryBird archetype players like Luka, maybe. I feel like he does a lot of similar things as LarryBird seems to be doing on the offensive end. But I feel like Luka's low-key better on offense. But like, he's just a better scorer and like playmaker and stuff. But y'all can let me know what y'all think. Like, I don't know. Defense though, Luka not on nothing. I'm gonna be so real. But on the offensive end, bro, he's generational. With that being said, I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one.